Welcome to a new series where I'm just going to go over the top Metacritic games and give my opinion. This is the number one Metacritic game. Still is to this day. It's the only game to have a 99 on Metacritic. Is Ocarina of Time worth a 99 to this day? No. I'm just going to straight up say no. When it came out, was it worth a 99? Yes. If you take into account that this came out back then, 1998, I would say yes. It revolutionized gaming as a whole, right? It not only gave us an example of how adventure games are still handled to this day, but also how action games are handled to this day, at least in a fantasy genre, right? Maybe not to a perfect T, but to a high degree of style, right? And gameplay. It brought you that Z triggering to the point that people still, who grew up with this game, call targeting systems Z trigger or Z targeting, because this game started all that, right? It brought so much to the gaming genre, and a lot of games spun off from it, trying to figure out what to do. But you don't have the Dark Souls or Souls-like games without this one, right? You just don't. And on top of that, as much as everyone wants to say, oh, Metroidvania is what brings us all these other games, Zelda is a Metroidvania. Like, hands down, always has been. You are in an open world area. There's a lot of places you have to unlock by getting a new item. That's a Metroidvania. So Zelda has always been a Metroidvania, prior to Metroidvanias being Metroidvanias, right? So Zelda's done that beforehand, but it's always been in a 3D space, right? Aside from the second game. I guess technically that one even had a 3D open map to roam around in. But so it influenced all of those games as well. So it's such an influential game that I understand why I got a 99. And even going back to then and playing it when it first came out, mind you, I was born in 96. My family got a 64 in 99. I was 3 when I played this game. My parents put it up on top of the fridge because I was terrified. And then I think 2 years later, they took it down. 1 or 2 years later, I took it down and I could play it. And I played this game constantly. Just avid player of this game. This was one of my first games next to Mario 64 and Mario Kart and all those games. But this was one of my first games ever. This game's amazing. It is so much nostalgia. But if you go back to play it today, is the game good? It's all right. The graphics don't hold up. There's nostalgia for them. I like the 64 graphics. You either like them or don't like them. I enjoy the origami art style. That's just how I grew up with it. So I enjoy that look more than the polygonal art style of the PlayStation 1. I just prefer the 64. That's just me because I grew up on the 64, not the PlayStation 1, right? But it doesn't look great. And it's a very slow burn of a game with a very empty world. It's a game that tells you, hey, go do this thing. Now go do this thing. Here's a dungeon. Okay, now go do this thing. Now go do this thing. Here's a dungeon. Okay, now go do this. Like, it's fetch quests. Now, you could argue that most games are broken down into fetch quests, but this one, traveling takes forever. It just does. There's a lot going on in this game that's slow and methodical, but hear me out. It is an adventure game, and part of adventure is adventuring around. So if you don't know what you're doing and you start off and it's brand new, it's a pretty interesting game. So it's hard to introduce this, to drop this. Like, I think it was, I agree with a lot of people who say if I was to tell someone to play a Zelda game, for like a first Zelda game, I would never tell them to play Ocarina of Time. I would honestly tell them to play A Link to the Past. I think it's a much better Zelda game nowadays because it's more compact and has everything you need, and there's stuff going on constantly. There's enemies everywhere. You have to fight the enemies, dodge the enemies, run away from them. Ocarina of Time is a bunch of let's just roll to this next area. But I also think Ocarina of Time gives you that lone warrior feeling. It's where Link almost feels lonely. Similar to that Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, where you are just alone. You have your one companion, but it's just the two of you in this open world traveling. And it's so seldom used these days, but you just get to travel and go do stuff. But again, what's your goal? Well, your goal is to just do the main quest and find heart pieces every once in a while. It's very outdated. I think it's very outdated nowadays, and if you were to hand it to someone, they would say it's empty. And I think that's the key. It's an empty world. I think Peanut Butter Gamer said it best. What's the point of making all these memories and finding all this treasure if it's so boring? This game makes you wait. It's such a slow game. And the combat's so slow and methodical. And you have to wait for the enemies to be open to do stuff. It has so much waiting that gets fixed in future Zelda games. Is it worth playing? Yes. But I don't think it should be your first Zelda game. I think you should go back to play it after you play a few of the other ones so you know what you're getting into. So you know the gist of Zelda, so you're like, okay, I know what to do. Let me go do this, right? Go play the other Zelda games that tell you what to do. And I'm not talking the two newest ones. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are two different. They're great to play, but you're not going to understand the other Zelda games by playing them. But play your Twilight Princess and your Wind Waker and your Skyward Sword and even like A Link to the Past. So you understand this, this is how the games work, then go play Ocarina of Time and you're like, okay, I could see what this was going for. Just know it's a slow game. But that's fine. Just be ready for a slow game where it's just you, Link, and Navi. And have some fun. Peace.